Okay, so that's a good transition on defending, right? Because let's move on to again Atlanta United. We talked a little bit about their who we thought the starting lineup would be. I think I was a little confused that Etienne might be more of like a attacking center midfielder, like as in a replacement option for Huzetu. That might be more box to box. Evidently, he's a left winger, so he might be versatile enough to play in the midfield. But I think his background is definitely on the left side. Uh, so that would indicate that, yeah, with Mascara leaving and maybe again putting Wiley coming off the bench, that Etienne is the potential starter out on the left wing, which then obviously indicates that Araujo has to be the inverted on the other side, right, Dave?
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be, right? Because I mean, now we actually have two left footers, right? So you would think, I mean, the weird thing, if Etienne truly is a winger, and I agree, I think that people are giving us, a hard time. To be honest, as we've always said, we haven't followed the other teams in MLS that much. And so we haven't seen that much of Etienne. And so if he is truly a left,
I don't get that either because I feel like Wiley's on the up, but
I assumed that even if he played a little bit left winger for Columbus, that they saw him as one of the attacking
yeah.
midfielder roles, and they would still
Yeah,
have an
Wiley's
option for
homegrown too, by the
Wiley.
way, we were talking about, right?
Yes, but I wouldn't
Yes.
say he's made a major impact for us. Yeah,
No, I think as far as somebody I believe in to be able to make a
yeah,
major
he
impact, like
certainly should be able
he's probably
to.
at the top of my list though. And so now you bring a guy in to block him from any progress in minutes. Um, interesting. No?
Yeah, I completely agree. It's a bit of a
Yeah.
head scratcher because he's
Okay.
25 or
So
26 or something
so
like
that
that.
means
So
he's out on the left, which means that now who's in the center, right? So Alonso recovering from a knee injury. I mean, what, right? Best case scenario, he's coming back in the summer with
yeah,
like
but
full
Alonso is a
fitness.
defensive midfielder,
And
right? He's
he's
a Sosa cover, or Sosa's a cover for him. That's not an attacking midfielder. You would
no,
say,
no, not attacking midfielder. So like in a type of role, Barrow could swap, right? I'm thinking of like a defensive posture
yeah.
where you've got
Well,
Sosa and Ibarra.
you're missing the obvious one who we don't like to talk about.
No, I'm not going to mention his name. Stop it. He is not. No.
Who shall not be mentioned.
Sadich.
No.
I said it. I said it. I said it. Sadich.
What do you? I mean, why is it? He has no point in being said. Is that's not proper English?
No.
He doesn't deserve proper English. Just
No, he doesn't.
he doesn't.
Okay. All right, go on with yourself. Talk about a Marcetic getting in there. So what's the midfield? If he's out left. So you got Sosa and then Almada. Who's the third?
I mean, presumably, one possibility is Araujo as an attacking midfielder who's more inside. If that's true, and he's not the right of a front three, right? Then presumably, Brooks Lennon has to be that role, and then Hernandez is behind him. But that doesn't seem like he hasn't started Hernandez anything. It looks like Brooks Lennon is going to be the starting right back.
Yeah, I mean, I keep saying he shouldn't be, but we all know he will be. So that means you've got.
So it's a front three. Obviously, the middle is going to be Yakamakis.
Yep. Yakamakis Papa Giorgio.
What? Papa
So
Giorgio.
evidently, if Dave has done his research, evidently the proper pronunciation of this Greek fella's name is
Yakamakis.
Yakamakis. I think it's going to be easier for us average people just to say Papa Giorgio.
I concur.
So you got Yakamakis. I mean, presumably you were saying Yakamakis, Almada, and Araujo flanking Yakamakis. So those are the three. If that's the case, then the next three are all central players. So if it's not Etienne, right? I mean, that's the thing, right? So he has always played a 4-3-3 with 3 attackers, right? So you got to figure we have a striker. It's got to be Yakimakis, and he always insists on playing a
Right. So
striker,
you got
right?
him as striker. You got Etienne out on the left and Araujo on the right.
No, because what about Tiago? So you're saying those are the 3, and then Thiago Almada, and Thiago Almada is one of the central midfielders along with Ibarra and Josetu.
That's more how I pictured in my mind.
Okay,
I mean, the thing about Amada is he can play anywhere.
sure.
I just feel like him coming from a more central position is in our favor because he's so good on the ball. He makes really good.
Yeah, I like it
passing
offensively,
decisions.
but of course, as one of the center 3, as opposed to and you have 3 players in front of him, that means that it's a very aggressive midfield because Almada is not really going to defend in the midfield.
Right, which is why I like Ibarra back there.
Well, you got to have Ibarra, but Ibarra and Josetu is not going to do it.
Ibarra and
Josetu got dominated by
saying.
Chattanooga.
Ibarra and Sosa.
Right?
Ibarra and Sosa.
Yeah, and now one of the things that we will say is we've been talking about how in the world is Sosa not in the starting lineup or in the plans, but one of the things that we keep forgetting, Sosa picked up that suspension for supposedly making a homophobic remark, which he claims he didn't even know was homophobic as a Spanish kind of gesture. Anyway, he was suspended for 3 games. He served 1 game at the end of the year, so he's suspended for the first 2 games, which is, I presume, why he's not in there. Although, here's my question to you, Carmen, Mikey Dobbs. Feel free to jump in, right? So, if let's say Sosa is your starting defensive midfielder, right? But he's just not available for the first 2 games, right? What are you starting in these preseason games? Are you going with the team that you think is going to be your permanent team, or are you going with the starting lineup for your first 2 games?
I think I don't know. At this point, I'd be questioning like how you would leverage Parata and this new Abram guy in some creative way just to get the season off with more talent on the field.
Sure, but I'm talking about right now. Let's say you say that Sosa. We're not saying this is true, but let's say Sosa is the defensive midfielder. If you are Pineda and you see him as your starting defensive midfielder, but you know that he's not available for 2 games in these preseason games, do you start him or not?
That's a great question. I think that. I think no. I mean, Sosa knows how to come back and he knows how to play the position. So I don't know. What's your take, Carmen?
I think I'm fine with not starting him to get whoever's going to be in those first 2 games, get them acclimated so we start strong. Because we talked about it last week. We need to win these first couple games. I mean, we got to be serious about it. So
100%.
I'm fine bringing those people who are going to be there for us in those first couple of games to get used to everything and be ready to go from the get-go.
And I completely disagree with y'all.
Okay.
Because if I'm preseason, I'm trying to build my top lineup. I'm trying to get people to learn how to play together. As we get towards the very end of preseason, I would then alter it to whatever it's going to be on the starting day. But through the bulk of preseason, all the minutes that I'm giving would be the lineup that I think is going to do.
Establish this is how we play. So
because this is not about.
So everybody else is watching to say this is our identity. So I hear what you're saying, right?
Getting people used to playing the way they're going to play. If you think Sosa is going to be the starting defensive center midfielder for the bulk of the season, he should be the starting defensive midfielder for most of the preseason. I get that you have to be ready for opening day, and so you've got to adjust it the last game, maybe.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I can see both sides of the coin there, but I like that from the standpoint of establishing the identity who you want to be long term,
especially if you have a team coming off of 10th place and you're like, I want my starters to be able to play well together. One of the things we've been very critical of, and it's showing once again, right? We get signings so late that they don't have a preseason with us now. In the past, like Thiago Almada didn't even come until 2 games into the season because he came and then he had to go back. But Yakimakis and Abrams have both actually now touched down with the team
in Mexico.
including Yakamaka. So
Yay.
he actually isn't formally signed yet. He's undergoing a physical, but he did it in Mexico, which means they presumably want him immediately to join the team.
Are there any rumored green card visa type of issues or whatever to get them moving faster? I mean, is that an issue or?
We haven't heard it, but
Haven't
we
heard-
often
yeah.
that happens. We're like, there's a guy ready to go, and then they're like, oh, he's got to go back to Peru to get his visa.
It
So, I don't know.
sounds like, at least from the Yakamakis Papa Giorgio standpoint, like
Yeah.
that's less of an issue, I guess, for European players.
Right.
But for Abram, I don't know.
Yep. Well, if you're gonna pick one that could go back, you would say you want Yakamakis to be here because he has got to be the starter on opening day. I'm not even sure if Abrams is. Parata is perfectly capable.
Agreed. So where are we going here?
And what about mystery, bachelor number 3 behind door number 3? There was supposed to be 3 signings
Crickets.
according to Pineda. We have heard nothing.
I mean, I mean, that's the mystery too, because I think if Josetu or Ibarra don't make it happen this season in terms of that role, because Amar Sedek,
Like they didn't against
Amar
Chattanooga.
Sedek could just disappear into the sunset as far as I'm concerned. I don't know why we signed him.
He hasn't played yet. Also,
I was about to say, have we heard
Mm-mm.
anything from him?
again,
Good.
must be
Good.
injured.
Perfect. So maybe Pineda's doing something right, except
So
for
we have a
re-signing
couple
him.
of players who are supposedly not injured in Etienne and Sadich, although you said, Carmen, you read something about him, Etienne, being injured.
Yeah, I think they said something like minor injury issue keeping him from playing, something like
Minor.
that. But he's training. He's training with them.
This
He's
is
down
like
in
when
Mexico.
Marcelino Moreno had a hangnail on his toe and they couldn't play him. So that's what
That
happened.
lasted
right?
a long
I was
time.
about to
It
though.
say.
did, yeah. It's like months.
Yes.
A month and a half.
All right.
And
so,
I don't believe for 1 minute that the 2 signings that looks like are coming, I do not believe for 1 minute that when Pineda told people there were 3 people coming, that Yakamakis was one of them. I don't believe it because he was on his way to Japan and it
I think
certainly
he
changed.
was. I think he was. I think.
I don't think so.
I think they had enough of an inside track at that point. By my, I don't know, but I think they did. I think
I'll
they
take
did.
that, but we'll never be able to solve it. So
Never be able to solve it.
Yes.
So
useless bet.
these preseason games, especially the first 2, like I get it. They're scrimmages and all, but it's not a good sign that we've given up what's the goal differential here now? 7 goals, and
Giving up
Pineda
7 goals in 2
says
games.
he's focused on defense.
Yeah. And
So,
to be honest with you,
what's going on?
defense is the most settled thing there is, right? Because Gutman, if the opening defensive lineup is Gutman and Parata and Miles Robinson and Brooks Lennon, they're all 4 on the field. So that's a head scratcher.
That is true.
That could be our starting lineup on opening day defensively, and those guys are the same guys who gave up 7 goals in both. They started both games, so us now. In fairness, we shouldn't say they gave up 7 goals because the team gave up 7 goals, and those guys did give up 3 goals against Chattanooga, but. In this second game against Atalanta, it was 1-1 when they were on the field, and we didn't give up the other goals, the other 3 until after.
But Chattanooga, our starters did give up 3, right?
Yeah, they gave up 3.
They did.
So that's 4 goals, and
and 2 of them
against
have been horrible Guzan things. So presumably that's not the fault of the back 4.
Yeah.
So
okay,
but still.
Look at y'all being positive on the bright side
level
over there.
Teams, though, lower level teams. I'm not too positive.
And then there's Mikey Dubs.
Yeah,
Making it real.
Come on,
Bring in the